Good morning, everyone. It's 8:30. I'm going to start the meeting because I think we have a lot to share today. So I will begin with some updates from the Select Board. First, the other night we approved our land use matrix. We wrote the charge and finalized the charge for a working group that's going to look at what are some of the land that's becoming available to the town, and what are some of the uses that we have, and how to best match the demands for uses that we have and the lands that are becoming available. So many of you are going to have members of your boards and committees, or some of you. I sent you an email yesterday, and I hope that you will bring that up at your next meeting and hopefully nominate someone to bring forward for that working group. We're also looking at updating APP 10, which is a policy that we use to appoint people to boards and committees. Cameron McKenna is leading that, but we are open to feedback. So if anyone has any feedback about how we could improve appointing people and nominating people to boards and committees, please let us know. You can go directly to Cameron or come to the general Select Board website. We've got a lot going on in the next few months. One of the important things we have going on, as you know, is the MCI Advisory Board has engaged consultants whose work has to be completed by June 30th in order to take advantage of state funds. Part of the work that the consultants are doing is community outreach. So I'm going to ask people to keep that in mind in April and May and not plan any forums. So we really have a clean slate so that we can allow the consultants to go out and engage with the community. Because, you know, we've got a lot of things buttoned up against each other right now. So let's, if you can possibly delay any forums, hearings, or community events until late June, would you say, Mark?
Yeah. Oops. And specifically, you know, check the MCI Advisory Board webpage if you do need to schedule something, because what we're really trying to do is when we have those large public gatherings, we want to make sure that that's kind of the only thing on the docket for those particular days. Right now, it looks like late April on the 28th or 29th is one of the days that we're expecting to have an early session, one of the first sessions for the MCI Advisory Board, and I think that there'll be more coming out about that schedule at next Monday's meeting. So we'll try to make sure that that's published as well as possible.
So having just said that, I also have to let you know that we have a town meeting coming up, and the hearings, the hearings are planned for the month of April, mid-April to the end of April. They're published on the town website. We've got 5 hearings. These are really good opportunities for the community to learn about the warrant articles, to ask questions, and to help the sponsor of the article adjust or adapt their article to what they're hearing from the community. And finally, I want to make an announcement about a lot of you see in your charges that the expiration date for membership is usually the end of May or the end of town meeting, whichever happens sooner. This year, because town meeting is delayed, that doesn't apply. So I just want you to know that we have an APP, I think it's APP 16, which means that if your term is set to expire this year, it won't be until the end of town meeting, even though the charge will say May 31st. So you're still a sitting member of that board or committee, you still have a vote, and you'll be a full voting member through the end of town meeting. So I think that's all I have for now. I'm going to turn to Gary. Gary, as you know, is the co-chair of the 250th Executive Committee. We know that's fast approaching, so I'm going to give Gary a little bit of extra time this morning to kind of get us up to speed on all that's happening there.
Great.
Go ahead, Gary.
Thank you, Mary, and good morning, all. So we are rapidly approaching April 19th, and I want to thank all those who've been involved as volunteers, myself included in that category, for all the work and effort to date. The town staff have been working extra hard, and I also want to acknowledge and thank them for their ongoing efforts. And I mentioned April 19th. Of course, that's the date of the parade and other celebrations, but I do want to emphasize there are a lot of activities and programs underway now, and they constitute an important part of what we're trying to do in celebrating the 250th. And there's a range of programs and activities for families, for different interest groups and the like. One of the things we tried to do is to make sure these programs and activities are accessible to everyone. So in many cases, they are free and open to the public. In other instances, there's a modest fee for a particular event or activity. But I want to emphasize, while appropriately we are looking at and marching, literally and figuratively, to April 9th, towards April 19th, there's a lot going on already, and take advantage of it. It really does. These are programs and activities that we've developed in partnership with town staff, and particularly with the various nonprofit organizations here in Concord. We're fortunate to have a strong, robust cultural community, and they have proven to be wonderful partners in the effort to put together what I know will be it is an ongoing celebration of the founding of this country and through the beginning of the Revolutionary War here in Concord. So take a look at the website, concord250.org. There's a lot of information there. I'll repeat this several times here, probably in my remarks this morning, but it's key in terms of a listing of, I was just looking at the month of March, there are approximately 50 programs and activities underway. So yeah, we're halfway through the month. There's still plenty happening, including something we're doing in collaboration with the National Park Service, one of our key partners as well, that will take place here this weekend. It's actually at Wright Tavern, and it's titled Spies Among Us, Intelligence Gathering by the British Army and the provincials. And then there's, of course, a very significant quilt program that has very much its theme, Quilts 250. It's something we're working in collaboration with a number of different organizations. I think there are about 60 quilters from about, whatever it is, 60 towns here in Massachusetts that are participating. This will be held this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. The exhibit is free, so please take advantage of it. There's a special program and presentation that has a very modest fee associated with it. You need to register for it. We have speakers coming from, including the Museum of Fine Arts and the like. So take a look at what's on the website, both in terms of programs and activities. My other point about taking a look at the website and continue to do that is that there's a lot continuing to unfold. A lot more information will become available, and I suspect, and we are updating that particular platform as well as the social media platforms we have on a daily basis. So, and that will happen right up till April 19th, I can assure you. So we will also produce a fair amount of printed, we have, and we'll continue to produce some hard copy printed materials that we'll make available, because we know that for some folks that's just more user friendly. But the challenge with that, of course, is that material, once we print it, it's fixed in place in time. And yet, as I just said, the one thing with certainty, there will be change and there will be adjustments, and thus the digital platforms become an important part of our efforts in that regard.
So, Gary, can I interrupt?
Sure.
So people can go to the website and get up-to-date information on transportation, because I know a lot of people are interested in transportation, and the Select Board is going to have an update on public safety at our Monday night meeting. So,
Good. Yeah, thank you. And we've been meeting on at least a monthly basis, and now picking up the pace a little bit more by way of regular briefings with the Select Board. So those are part of the agenda. And as Mary said, we had a brief update with the board this past Monday, and we'll have a next one this coming Monday, and we'll focus particularly on public safety-related issues. So, and we're continuing to have outreach to various groups. Yesterday, we met at the Council on Aging. We worked with them, had a strong turnout at the Harvey Wheeler Community Center. We will have, and mindful of what Mary just announced, we're going to squeak in under the wire on April 1st This is actually our regularly scheduled executive committee meeting. In this case, it'll be Tuesday, April 1st at 6 p.m. And we're going to treat that at this point as we call these public information meetings public forums. So
Good.
a chance to say, here's basically what we're trying to do. Here are key issues relative to transportation, things you need to know, how to get around, move around. And that will take place, as I say, on Tuesday, April 1st, 6 p.m. at the Goodwin Forum in the main library. And I suspect, unless it's determined we really need to do more, that may be our last public
Yep.
forum, information forum. We've met with the local business community 5 times now with forums that date back over the past year. We've been in touch with and working with the faith community because I think by this point, I hope you all realize that the calendar is a little challenging for us, both in light of religious and secular holidays that fall in, around, and during April 19th. Passover, the week of, and leading up to April 19th. Obviously, the Patriots' Day for us here in Concord will be April 19th, Saturday. Sunday is Easter. And Monday is Boston Marathon. So everyone's going to have a lot to do, and there'll be a lot of things going on. But it will call on a lot of resources, regional resources, that we're mindful of and trying to be sensitive to. The public safety personnel in particular, who are going to be called on to not only help us here in Concord, but in other communities, and particularly as it relates to the marathon as well. So, so if you'll begin to see also some other activities here now in Concord that are here in the center, reflecting the fact that our preparation for April 19th, and you may have noticed that there's a new cell phone unit on Kai's Road.
Cow.
It's a cow.
It's called a
We
cow.
affectionately refer to those as cows. It's cell on wheels. And there'll be actually 2 of those mobile units in the Kai's Road area and 1 near the North Bridge. So it will definitely enhance cell phone communication while they're installed. And we are looking to get them installed. 1 is in place now, and get them in place quickly enough so that the engineers can test, adjust, make sure the systems are working. So if you see, or people are asking, what is that 80-foot tower on the back of that truck? That's the mobile cell phone support. And then you'll see some other new seating wooden benches that are in place here around Concord. I'm one that thinks we need to have more places for our guests and our residents to actually be able to sit occasionally. So those are now going in place, and our ability to do so was from a competitive grant that we sought and achieved from the state for that purpose. So a couple of quick updates relative to the transportation and what will happen here in Concord Center as we approach April 17th, 18th, and 19th. Kai's Road parking lot and the parking lot, municipal parking lot near the post office off of Walden Street. There's going to be, by Wednesday evening, the 16th, they'll begin to have some closures of the use of those parking areas because we've got materials and equipment that will be coming in, and they need a place to be situated. The important point to realize, as we've said now repeatedly for many months, is that we do, for reasons of public safety, want to establish a clear, well-defined security zone, which means we will be generally prohibiting cars from entering into the center on April 19th. The process to begin the establishment of that security zone begins on Friday evening. And then we expect by Saturday evening, those restrictions and barriers will be removed because we're mindful that the following day is Easter Sunday, and we have worked with the faith community, and we're assuring them that those limitations and restrictions on vehicle access and parking will have been lifted at that point in time.
Gary, I'm going to ask you to wrap up now
Okay.
because we have a lot
Yep.
of people in the room.
And I can pass around the information about where you can get more information. I mentioned earlier. So our website address, the various social media platforms. There's a QR code here. Please use this resource. It's important, and will keep you
Great.
up to date. And there's
you'll
also
be-
an FAQ that we've produced as well, which has some commonly asked questions and the like, and I'll pass that around for you.
And Gary will be here after the meeting if you want to
Yes.
talk with him. So I'm going to keep going because we have a lot of people in the room. Carrie, you want to go next?
Sure. I have a couple quick updates. Carrie Rankin, Concord, Chair of the Concord School Committee. Just a few things happening in the schools. One is, well, since we last met, we had our last meeting in Boston with a number of our Metco families, which was a really great experience. We had a packed room, and it was pretty awesome. We had dinner, and then we had a meeting, which was great. We are going into the spring, a few updates. One is we are starting to have conversations about cell phone policies in our schools. And what that looks like, it's starting on Friday with our subcommittee, policy subcommittee meeting. We're going to be laying out what are the questions, what are the things that we ought to be considering and thinking about as we approach this conversation. Who are the people we need to be talking to, things like that. So that is on Friday, and then that will kind of dictate the timeline, but throughout the spring, we will be talking a lot about cell phones in schools. We are, at our next meeting, we're having an update from the MCI Advisory Committee. They're coming to present at our meeting, and we are working towards a spring ribbon cutting at the middle school, which is up and running and going really well, thanks in large part to the work that Pat has been doing.
Ta-da!
So, passing on.
And
Really
Carrie said
good,
it all.
good.
So I'm going to cede my time. I know, really have nothing earth-shaking
sorry.
to, no, that's okay. Nothing earth-shaking to report, but it is up and running, and we will continue to meet until the last bill is paid. So
Great.
Oh, the one thing you should mention is that Sanborn's going to start to come down.
Sanborn is going to start to come down.
Oh, okay.
We have our meeting tomorrow, so I'll get updated on, do you have a date for when that's going to start?
I think Dr. Hunter said it was supposed to start as early as this or next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Carrie.
You done, Pat?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Andrea?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Andrea Fountains, Assistant to the Select Board. The only thing that I wanted to update on was the volunteer list and the website. I had reached out to everyone to try to get some feedback on where your volunteers are as far as your webpage. And everyone's been very helpful in providing information, so I am working through that. And you'll be seeing those updates very soon as we work through each group. Also, I've mentioned about if you need volunteer names for someone that is rolling out, then please send me that request, and I'm happy to submit some names as well. We're constantly getting volunteer names in. People are very active in submitting their information, so reach out, and I'll be happy to send some information to you. That's it for me.
Thanks, Andrea. Very good. I'm going to go onto the screen now and hear from the people on Zoom. Carmen, do you want to go next?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Carmen Reese, Town Moderator. The warrant is now posted. There are 58 articles, 5, maybe 6 citizen petitions. I would ask all board and committee chairs to have a look at the warrant as it's posted on the website and see whether there's any article there that is of particular interest to your board or committee that you may wish to become informed about, perhaps invite the article sponsor to be on an agenda at one of your meetings so that you may make a recommendation to town meeting on the article. I think many of you have already received some outreach from article sponsors, but it's a really good idea to double check and for you all to look back and make sure that there's nothing there that you're missing. As Mary mentioned, the hearings will start April 9th. The last hearing is on May 1st. And it's great to have as robust a participation in those hearings as we can. If you're an article sponsor, you should have already received a memo with your deadlines that are upcoming. The next one will be that we need motions to be submitted, and I'm just looking, that's Friday, March 28th is the deadline for submitting what you currently intend your motion to be, and recognizing that motions may change as the result of what transpires at the hearings, and that's fine. We can change motions afterwards, and the motion that goes into your briefing book, into the town meeting briefing book, can be different from what you present at hearings. But we will expect that anybody who's presenting an article at a hearing will have their first and last slide in their PowerPoint presentation as the motion that they intend to present at town meeting. And more later. Thank you all.
Thank you, Carmen. Warren?
Yes, thank you.
Morning.
I want to talk about three things. First, the light plant has been engaged in a major tree trimming activity across the town over the past couple of months. There was a lot of deferred maintenance. This is very important work because it reduces the chance of outages from trees falling on the power lines. The light plant staff is very aware of all the activities that'll be going on in town for the 250th in April, and the tree trimming will be stopped during that time, but most of it will be done before then. As I mentioned at previous meetings of this group, the major activity for the light plant board this year is to help with the transition to time of use rates for residential customers. This is going to be a really good thing for the town because the issue is there are some times of the day where the power that the light plant pays for is much more expensive than other times of the day. If we can get people to switch some of their use from high cost times to low cost times, it will save everyone money. And what we were focusing in on our last light plant meeting was the issue of the type of outreach and education campaigns that will take place, because we want this to go smoothly and we want it done in a way that people will be able to switch some of their electricity use, because it will save the town as a whole money, but it will save those individual money. And connected to this whole thing, the light plant is embarking on a cost of service study, and we're going to be contracting with consultants to undertake that. This is a study that takes place every few years, where outside experts come in, look at all the costs that the light plant has, look at projections for electricity costs over the coming year, look at the amount of revenue that's being collected from different classes of ratepayers, and then make recommendations for how to adjust rates if necessary to ensure that we are collecting enough money and collecting it fairly from the different classes of ratepayers. So that's what I have.
Great. Warren, I've got a question for you. I agree with you that the time of use is good for the town. Have you set rates for that?
No. That's one of the main reasons for doing the cost of service study.
Okay.
Is to determine what the rates need to be and what the rates need to be at different times.
Okay, thank you.
The goal is probably July or August to be able to let folks know what the rates will be in the coming year.
Okay, thank you. Let me see, Mike Lawson. Mike, you're muted. You're still muted. There you go. No, you jump.
EDC is working on its presentations for the planning board public hearing on the 9th. That's our zoning bylaw with respect to parking and accessory use in industrial zones. And also we're working with the finance committee and the select board to prepare a position paper essentially on economic development. So those are the things we're working on.
Very good, thank you. Sarah? Sarah?
Hi, yes, Natural Resources Commission. Just one update in that the Department of Natural Resources has their annual cleanup coming up. This will be from March 22nd to the 30th, and you can sign up for a particular area of town and pick up bags from the Natural Resources Department, or just call Karen. That's the only update I have. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Jean Goldsberry?
Good morning. Thank you. Jean Goldsberry, Commission on Disabilities. We have been looking at working toward updating the accessibility plan for Concord, which is about 15 years old and really only dealt with streets, not with services. We also reviewed the Concord Employment and Services app and voted approval on that. And we heard from some parents about a significant concern about accessibility at the new proposed playground at the Rose School. So we're following up on that.
Is that it, Jean?
That's it. Thank
Great.
you.
Okay, thank you. Susan? Morning.
Hi, everyone. I'm Susan, and I'm the chair of the West Concord Advisory Committee. And our committee has just concluded a multi-meeting evaluation of the West Concord Village Master Plan, which was written in like 2010. And we were basically kind of looking at the different advice that plan had for West Concord and whether some of those items had been completed. I think there were like 70 different items that were on kind of a matrix, and we've evaluated whether things have been done or whether they still can stand to be done. And this is all kind of in service of helping the MCI committee understand how the MCI development can connect with West Concord Village in a productive way, and if we can hopefully evolve the entire area as the MCI project gets underway in upcoming years. So that's what we've mainly been involved in. We will be hearing from the MCI Outreach Committee during our next meeting, which is going to be the first Wednesday of April.
Great, thank you. Is Jill Block still there? Jill?
Good morning, everybody. Hi, I am here from the UCargill Trust Committee. Not much to say. We are recruiting a new member. I think I mentioned this last time. If you know somebody, especially with a social work background. Also, you should be on the lookout. We are about to do our annual appeal. We decided to buck the trend of doing that in November. And so you should be seeing letters for that soon. You know, the trust is funded with donations from the town. This is also for the tax relief fund. And we, just for an example, we gave away about $4,000 in January to about 7 recipients to pay for rent, for CMLP bills, for car payments. And so this is really important support for some of the lower income residents of our community. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Jill. Carlin, do you want to go next?
Okay, green light means it's on. Carlin, I'm here for the Finance Committee, substituting for Eric Dahlberg, who's the chair, couldn't be here today, but he wanted me to give you 2 points. One, we're going to be meeting on March 27th to start looking at the warrant, which has been posted. Thank you very much, Carmen, for getting that posted. We'll be looking at the articles and looking to see how much free cash we have for certified free cash, and how much of that we can allocate towards the stabilization funds versus the warrant articles. Unfortunately, some of the warrant articles do not have dollar amounts printed in them at this time. I'm going to encourage you to contact the chair of the Finance Committee to let them know if you need, for example, $250,000 for MCI, because it isn't said in the warrant article. Yes, Mark, I'm talking to you. Or some of the other articles, if you need to have some funds set aside so that we can get the right calculation. It's still adequate free cash for our services. The other thing we're going to be doing is working on a Finance Committee report, which will include a 5-year projection of the impact on real estate property taxes. And that's it for us.
Carlin, can I ask a follow-on question? So you mentioned the FinCom report and projecting the impact on property taxes in FY '26 and the following 5 years. When will that be available to the town?
Well, it'll be contained inside the finance report,
Right.
part of the briefing book. It's being drafted now.
Okay.
It's not finished yet.
Okay.
Do you have a time frame?
I would just like to know when we can
As soon as
expect
we
that.
can get, as soon as we can get it to you, we'll get it to you.
Great, okay.
Good?
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Mary, can I help with that?
Sure.
Let's see, the deadline for materials to go into the briefing book is April 30th. So I would expect that the Finance Committee report will be ready by then. And just as a quick update, I neglected to mention that we will be creating this town meeting briefing book this year. It'll be mailed out, it'll be posted online as soon as it's ready, and it'll be mailed out, which should be first week of May, and then it'll be mailed out a couple of weeks before town meeting, and it's going to have soup to nuts in it related to town meeting. Also, look for the warrant to be in the March 28 edition of the Concord Bridge. That'll be a first for this year, and just a reminder that we're starting a half hour early and ending a half hour early this year at town meeting.
So Carlin, just said another way, if committees were planning to have some kind of handout at town meeting, they should be trying to get that handout into the briefing book. And we're going to try to push back on the idea of handouts this year. Is that correct?
That is correct, and April 30th is the deadline for any
Okay.
kind of handout that you have supporting an article, any kind of write-up that you want to, if you're a sponsor, anything you have for that article that you would have expected to be a handout, we'd rather have that in the briefing book. If there's any text to a recommendation that you're making, other than we support this article or we recommend no action on this article, then we'd love to have that in the briefing book. And April 30th will be the deadline for submitting all those, and the submission portal is the same as everything for town meeting. It's tmsubmissions@concordma.gov.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The last hearing for the Finance Committee is May 1st, though, right?
That's right.
It is.
Okay. Okay.
So, and actually, let me just see. Actually, May 6th is the deadline for completing for the briefing book going to the printer. I think we did give until May 6th to the Finance Committee on the assumption that their Finance Committee report will be camera ready, so that there'll be no formatting that town staff needs to do to get that into the book. It can just go in there. So you may not have the Finance Committee report by the 30th of April. It looks like you'll have it by the 6th of May.
Thank you. Bill.
Bill Maracek, Chair of the Personnel Board. I'm going to report on two items that were in last Monday night's Select Board meeting. The first was a new Personnel Board charge. It's something that the Personnel Board, along with Mark Howell, has participated in coming up with a brand-new personnel charge, board charge, and that'll be presented and voted on at our next meeting. The second is the town did present the results of the recommendations from the Personnel Study Task Force. That was an important moment for, there's been a lot of noise in town apparently about the Human Resources Department as well as how it's managed. And this particular opportunity was for the town to hear what has in fact transpired as a result of the task force and the recommendations that were presented and the results that have taken place. I'm not going to go through this, but in general, it was a very, very positive opportunity for the town, and certainly I hope that this dampens some of the noise that's taking place.
Thank you, Bill. Dan.
I'm Dan Schmid, the co-chair of the Ag Committee. There are a few things that we've been talking about. One is to try to look into possible solutions to try to get some more inexpensive housing for people that are either working on farms or have farms in town. I need to talk to Ken. I keep to see if there's any possibility with his committee to do anything. One of the other things is that we're looking to put signage on the borders of Concord indicating that we're a farm-friendly town. And then the other thing is on May 15th, we have the Spring Forum. And I know you talked about limiting forums, but it's the 15th at 6 at the library. It's focused on farming going forward for the next 250 years, land issues and climate issues. And that's about it.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you.
Morning, Peter Lowett, Concord Housing Development Corporation. Aspet River Bluffs is making great progress. Final improvements are taking place for 406 Old Marlborough Road, and site work and clearing is beginning for the development of the lot where the additional units will be placed. So as you drive by, you should be seeing that in the next couple of weeks. And we're also doing the legal paperwork to transfer to the Concord Housing Authority and to Habitat for Humanity. So that's moving along. That's all we have to report.
That's all. Thank you. Brad.
Hi, I'm Brad Hubbard Nelson from the Climate Action Committee. And let's see, this month we had Green Home Tours this past weekend, and it went well. I don't think there was quite enough people. We could promote it better, but it's a good event for people seeing what other homeowners are doing in their homes. In the next month, we're going to be, or Eric is going to be submitting an application for a collaborative grant with MAPC and ORS about watershed, the Suasco watershed, and in collaboration with other towns. It's kind of a big thing for a couple of 2-year effort on understanding the effects of climate on the watershed and on water issues in general. And then we actually found out this month that the sustainability director position is going to go away because of meeting the budget, the operating budget, which is, it's a blow. We worked hard to get that position established, and we had a overwhelming climate emergency declaration last town meeting, so we want to make sure the town still takes the climate action as important, and we're going to try to see how the committee can adjust and get some staff resources to work with us and keep on with the climate action plan. For example, there's a composting program which has been getting a lot of use. Maybe it was a pilot program that sort of turned into a more permanent thing, and we'll have to figure out what to do with things like that going forward. We'll be discussing that this month.
Yeah, I want to respond to that. I don't want anyone to interpret this as the town is retreating from our climate action plan. We're fully committed to the climate action plan, to updating that, and to reaching the goals that we outlined there. And there will be changes within the organization of the town, so there will be support.
Hi, I'm Nancy Brown with the DEIB Commission, and this is a very challenging time for DEIB efforts. I'm very happy personally that I live in Concord and not in Ohio, where I spent most of my life. But we are having a meeting, a community meeting on the 26th of March from 5 to 7:30 at the library, just to gather groups that are interested in DEIB. And I hope everyone in this room will be present, because I think we're going to need to pull together into today's climate.
Thank you, Nancy. Chris?
Hi, Christine Denaro I'm one of the co-chairs of the Warners Pond Task Force. And basically the task force has been working for over a year now. And we have come up with 3 proposals for the status for moving forward with Warners Pond. Those are now online on the Warners Pond Task Force website. And we are having a public forum on April 3rd at 7 o'clock here in the town hall. And we will be presenting the three different proposals. We are looking for community feedback from citizens as well as from MCI and any other organizations that are interested. And we are hopeful that we will get a lot of feedback. We will combine that feedback, take a look at it, and then come forth with our final proposal on how we would like to proceed with Warners Pond. Whether we want to have recurring pond management, do we want to dredge, or do we want to take the dam down? Those are the 3 main proposals that are on the table.
And that recommendation will be presented to the NRC?
Yes.
Is that correct? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dottie Bernard, a new member of the Concord Board of Health. It's been a busy time for us. First, in preparing for Concord 250, we've been very involved in food truck permits, screening them, locating them, permitting, sanitary and hygiene issues. There's going to be 3 areas where food trucks will be located on April 19th. Also, we've been hiring for porta potties. There's going to be a huge number of porta potties in town at various locations. We have to make sure they're accessible, both for people to use them, but also to empty them, in the middle of the day, especially if there's added security issues. Also, drinking water. There's going to be a number of mobile potable water stations around town. We don't know if it's going to be a hot day on April 19th, but if it is, there'll be certainly a need for increased drinking water. In addition to that, we welcomed a new health inspector, Bethany Yates, who just started. We are, of course, monitoring measles and bird flu outbreaks across the United States, different states, and in the case of bird flu, of course, monitoring the domestic bird population in Concord, still a number of backyard chickens. One of our major projects was doing a public health survey this past year in 2024, the results of which I'm going to pass around some copies of a needs assessment of public health and community needs in Concord. We had close to 600 responses, and they're summarized. I'm not going to go through them, but they're summarized in this report. This report helps us as a guide, as a map for spending in the coming years, what the real priorities are of the citizens of Concord. So I'll pass. Again, I have 20 copies, not enough for everyone, but
Is it online?
It will be.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dottie. Eric?
Good morning. Eric Moore, Town Meeting Study Committee. So we're working on a report right now, and also I think watching as the briefing book rolls out. So we're looking forward to seeing how well that works. We hope well. One comment about the hearings that are coming up. So as a lead up to town meeting, the Select Board, FinCom, and the Planning Board conduct hearings of all the articles on the warrant. So in discussing, the hearings within the Town Meeting Study Committee, we want to emphasize that the primary purpose of the hearings is to serve the public in terms of, I'll say, a dress rehearsal for what's going to go in front of town meeting. And as well, if you're presenting, then you have an opportunity to really vet your work and present it both for, again, as a dress rehearsal, but also for getting hopefully public feedback at the hearing. We recognize as well that the hearings are to assure that the board, in a way, can do quality assurance on the policy work that's coming before meeting. But we just want to, again, really emphasize serving the public interest and the public information at the hearings. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Stefan?
Thank you. Stefan Bader, Chair of the Concord Housing Authority. As has already been mentioned, we're working on the transfer of the units at 406 Old Marlborough Road. We are also, as part of our little bit in the Concord 250, we have Victor Curran coming for a talk on March 27th at the Peter Bulkley Terrace. And we are also putting out some bunting on Peter Bulkley Terrace for the April 19th parade. In terms of significant money, I signed the contract to receive $1.13 million from the state for the air source heat pump installation project at our oldest buildings that will provide cooling and heating as well.
Excellent.
And that project is out to bid already and should be worked on over the summer and early fall.
Thank you.
That's about it. Thank you.
I can't see who's... Hi.
I'm hiding. Mark Hansen from the Pollinator Health Advisory Committee.
Hi, Mark.
We're looking for 2 new members, so if you have people that are interested in getting stung, let us know. No, actually, most pollinators do not have stingers. And the ones that are really bad are honeybees, and they're not native, and we really actually don't want them for our native pollinator because they compete. However, that said, if you are interested in or know someone that is interested in the ecology of pollinators and trying to reverse the declines we've seen in the last few decades, mostly due to neonicotinoids, we would be very interested. The other thing we're working on is our committee's initial focus was on neonicotinoid poisoning of pollinators. I don't know if any of you have seen the most recent declines for honeybees. Something like 90% of the overwintering bees died this year, which is, to me, a new all-time high. But our initial focus was on that, and it still is. I think there's documented evidence that it's very bad for native pollinators as well. The native pollinators, which do not have stingers, as well as the few that do. What we're looking for now is we're also focused on providing better habitat, because part of the decline, there's a relationship between bees and the pollinators and the things they pollinate. In other words, it's a cooperation. In other words, the pollinators provide reproductive services for the plants that require pollination in order to produce viable seed. With the decline of native pollinators over the last few years, we've seen a decline of the native plants that those bees service. So it's a vicious spiral that our committee is focused on reversing. So we're providing native plants. We've had a number of winter sows that we've participated in, and we will be providing native plants this spring for people to put in their yards that are attractive. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm just Dakota from the Concord Bridge, so you're listening.
Just Dakota. Just.
Hello, I'm Mark Galis with the Transportation Advisory Committee. Our major, one of our major efforts right now is to help do what we can to help support the Public Works Department, Public Works Commission, other town staff, including our new Director of Community Development, Miss Elisa, along with the consultants that the town has hired to support the borrowing articles at town meeting with regard to repairing and maintaining road infrastructure and making improvements that make it safer for people to walk and to cycle around town. And another thing that I wanted to mention is that it's come to our attention that the Climate Action Committee is started work on revising and updating the climate action plan of the town, and there's a transportation section in that. and there's some significant overlap in terms of, even though we have different charges and emphases between the transportation initiatives with regard to reducing greenhouse gases and what the Transportation Committee is interested in doing, but two significant overlaps that we want to kind of combine our efforts on are, number one, what will probably be a fairly long-term but very important effort to work towards implementing some forms of local public transportation, connect us better to the regional services and give people alternatives. And the other thing is, again, making it safer for people to walk and cycle around town, through town, and from other places to town. And that, again, that last part definitely ties into the borrowing article, the benefits of that. That's coming up for a town meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Good morning. This is Han. I'm Kate Charner. I'm the new chair of the HDC, and we just keep on keeping on. We just have hearings each month, and so we don't really have different agendas. So that's about it.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Holly Legault. I'm the new chair of the Public Safeties, the Public Ceremonies Committee. I'm happy to announce that this year's Honored Citizen was selected. It's Sandy Smith. His ceremony is Sunday, March 30th at 2 p.m., and everyone is welcome. Our next ceremony is Miriam's Corner on April 12th, and then Dawn Salute on April 19th. We are recruiting for 2 or 3 members, so if you know anyone who loves town history and planning celebrations, we would be happy to have them.
Very good. Thank you. Dan.
Dan Gainsborough, co-chair of the MCI Advisory Board. We've done a lot since the last time I was here. We now have our consulting team on board. We did a kickoff meeting, and they did a site tour, site walk of the site, MCI site. We have a upcoming. Right now, they're in the process of the discovery phase, which is sort of a lot of data collection and familiarizing themselves with that. And then on 4/7, I believe it is, that we're going to have an initial meeting with them where they're going to share some of their preliminary findings and also their timeline for the work to get from here to the 30th of June. They've also made a lot of progress on revamping the website that we have, so you should be seeing the efforts of that pretty soon. Our community outreach subcommittee has been doing a lot of work. They've started to reach out to various groups, and I know they've been chatting with folks about scheduling upcoming meetings. And then the legal and governance group was successfully arranged a meeting with the Department of Transportation to get an update on the progress they've been making on the Route 2 redesign, and that happened yesterday in this space right here. So I think that's about it.
I have a question for you, Dan.
No.
Yeah, I do. The community outreach, you mentioned that you're going to be reaching out to the subcommittees, reaching out to different stakeholders. Is there a schedule for community outreach that's general to the general public?
Yes.
And when will we have that, and when will that be published?
So they shared with us a plan to do that, and there's sort of several venues, including some of the things that are going to happen at 250.
Okay.
Their thought is that they take advantage of some of the people going to be out and about. Also, the vote that's coming up was mentioned as a possibility last night. So
the what?
The vote that's coming up on what is it? The upcoming election.
April 8th. Oh, yeah, the election.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that.
Right. They've got a lot of creative ideas, and now they've shared them with the community outreach group, and now they're going back and forth. So nothing's been carved in stone yet, but that will be discussed in this upcoming meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to seeing a schedule of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One of the places that we're likely to see the consultant soon is at the Warner's Pond public meeting on April 3rd. Of course, it's one side of Commonwealth Avenue versus the other side of Commonwealth Avenue. So They're very interested in getting a sense of how we operate these things. So that's yet another great reason to show up and hear about the alternatives for Warner's Pond.
Thank you, Dan. Sven?
Yes, Sven Weber, Public Works Commission. A few things. We discussed updating the road guardrail specifications in good old Concord tradition. We had specifications for using guardrails that were super expensive, didn't last long, and were not safe. So we are updating that to have cheaper guardrails that last longer and are safe. I think that's a win-win-win. In addition, we got an update on our meter program. So a year ago, we discovered that a significant amount of water meters started to fail and report zero water use. First of all, we didn't have a proper policy back then how to deal with zero meter use. We had updated that timely after that. But in the meantime, we did significant work in looking at the cause of that. So it turns out that the little tiny batteries in the meters are now all timing out, and it's accelerating. So there's a significant amount of work to be done to update these little batteries in the meters in every house. Also to avoid that we are losing revenue with zero water reading. On the roads program, again, we prioritized the roads for the current fiscal year. So the current program is what still needs to be done out of the current budget. And that's important. And then, of course, we have the big roads program coming up. And on the facility side, since 1 year, all of town facilities fall also under Public Works. So we got our first full year report on that, what needs to be done. There were also a lot of structural things that needed to be adjusted to be more efficient in how we take care of our existing facilities. Just to get in perspective, if you benchmark our efforts now on a per square foot basis, if we benchmark and compare with other towns, we're about on our cost level in the middle field. On a per square foot basis, the disadvantage is that our square footage is kind of all over town. And there, of course, if we come to the point that we could consolidate town space in less locations, there's cost-saving opportunities there. That's it from my end.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Hi, Paul Bohm reporting on 2229 Main Street and also on behalf of Phil Griffith on the Recreation Commission. On 2229 Main Street Advisory, just sort of an update. The task force is kind of in limbo right now. We exist, but we had prepared a letter on behalf of the Select Board to submit to EPA and DOJ that was submitted. Have we heard back from them yet?
We did, and we've asked them to delay that until after the 250th. Because we need legal counsel there, and they were amenable to that. So we're focused on an early May meeting with them.
Great. So that was the first step, just a letter of intent to get the discussions going. So in parallel to that, we'll be assigning a new member to the new working group, land use working group, which is both consistent to our recommendations to undertake this parallel process of having the town council speak with EPA, DOJ, and enlist people in the planning process. So that's going well. There's an article, Article 29, on the warrant article. I believe that's a placeholder for you want to explain, because it's a Select Board article, not a 2229
It's
article.
another one of these things that Carla mentioned where we didn't put a dollar amount next to it, so we're reserving that.
Okay.
It's a placeholder.
Right, and that's to begin the process of negotiations.
Exactly.
So it's
We need due diligence. The next step is due diligence there, and we need legal effort there.
Right.
And so we don't know whether we can absorb that in our current legal budget or we'll need incremental funds, but we'll
yeah, so that's
figure
what
that out.
the article says feasibility, so that's what that means.
Yes.
On Recreation Commission, we'll be holding a public hearing information session tonight at 6:30 in the townhouse on the Doug White playing fields. Gale Associates, the consultant, will be there to answer questions, technical questions, and we'll be getting comments from the public. on the Doug White Field replacement plan.
Thank you. Keith?
Hi, Keith Bergman, Chair of the Concord Municipal Affordable Housing Trust. We are, the housing groups are very interested in engaging with the MCI Concord process. We're hoping to schedule a Concord Housing Roundtable for that at a convenient time. It's one of the major opportunities we think we have to address the town's housing needs. We're also glad of the work that the town is doing with the land use matrix process, which is also one of the big items for our future. To guide our discussions, the Trust is currently engaging with the Massachusetts Housing Partnership with some technical assistance. We had an excellent presentation last night about how affordable housing financing works and how it's eye-opening. Even I've been doing it for 40 years, and it was eye-opening to me. And so we're going to share that information, I hope, with all the town boards because it's good to have. We appreciate the work of the Housing Authority and the CHDC on the bringing the Assabet River Homes, 5 affordable units to fruition. 2 of those units we hope to have added to the subsidized housing inventory in the coming weeks. We're looking at the specter of seeing the 201 units for the Novo 40B fall off the SHI because they're not going to be pulling their building permit by April 16th, which is 1 year after their permit. Hoping that the ZBA takes final action by that time on the thorough 40B, which is currently in front of it, and that we can get those 2 units at Assabet added as well. I'd also just want to put in a plug that, as far as I know, will, depending upon what the state Senate does tomorrow, we'll all be able to continue to meet remotely through June of 2027, which takes me to the end of my term on the trust, and we've only met in person, I think, once. So, thanks.
Thanks. That was the last thing I was going to mention. Is for some people have raised concerns about the remote meeting authority, and it does look like it's going to be extended pending a vote tomorrow.
Yeah, I want to clarify, that's remote meetings. It's not remote participation in town meeting. So just so people understand that what we're talking about is just continuing meetings like this, hybrid meetings. It does not address remote voting at town meeting. Okay, so thank you all for sharing. Thank you for listening. I want to remind you that there is a town election on April 8th. There's early voting available now. These are contested races. Your vote matters. So please get the word out. We'd like to have a good turnout. Thank you.